Hello, and thanks for watching my beginner's guide to making a local backup in Windows 10. Now, this is a guide intended for absolute beginners, so please feel free to ask any questions, and we'll begin with some simple definitions. So, a backup is a copy of your data located on a separate device from your computer. When I say data, I'm referring to your documents, spreadsheets, photographs, and so on. And the word copy is important because this compares to simply moving your data onto something like an external hard drive rather than creating a duplicate, i.e. a backup. Today we are discussing a local backup, in this case to an external hard drive, and this would compare to an online service such as Dropbox, which you could back up your data to. So before we begin in earnest, we need to answer two questions. How much data do I have, and where is my data stored? So, like books on a shelf, data takes up space measured in megabytes, and you'll need an external hard drive that is at least as spacious as the hard drive in your computer. To determine the capacity of your hard drive, we'll open up File Explorer by pressing on the Start menu and then typing the word File Explorer, which should appear. Open that up and scroll down to this PC. Now in your PC, or this PC rather, you'll have listed the internal drives on your computer. I have one hard drive and one DVD drive. Now we can see from here that my hard drive is 464 gigabytes in capacity. Call it 500. I can't explain why 500 becomes 464 without requiring a second video. So we now know that we will need an external hard drive at least 500 gigabytes to occupy all of my data. So the second question is, where is my data stored? Now, if you're like me, I tend to have my active projects, if you like, stored on my desktop, and every now and then I will migrate them to my documents folder. Now, so that would suggest that all of my data that I generate is either on my desktop or in my documents folder. However, it's worth checking that by accident we haven't moved the data to a kind of random place by accident. So again, we'll open up File Explorer and all of your data will be stored on your hard drive. So let's open that up. Now, your data is typically going to be stored in your users directory, and within the users directory, your username, the name that appears when you log on to your computer initially. Of course, you may have multiple users here, and within that folder we find our desktop, documents, downloads, music, etc. However, if we go back to the root of the hard drive, the top level folders, it might be worth scanning these to see if there's anything that you recognise as something that you have generated. And right away I can see this folder here. Yeah, that I don't need anymore, so we'll move that off to the recycle bin. And it's important to note at this point that the recycle bin will not be backed up by this process, something to bear in mind there. So now we know where our data is stored and how much data we could potentially have, we need to move on to creating the backup. Okay, so I've connected my external hard drive to my computer, and I can verify that that's connected and working by opening up File Explorer again and scrolling down to this PC, and I can now see the external hard drive there listed as drive E. Great. So now to open up Windows 10's built-in backup software. To do that, press the Start button and simply type the word backup. Backup settings appears. Click on that. Now you may have to bear with me as I am actually following my own advice and setting this up on my computer. It's been about a year since I have, so things may have moved around a bit. But so we're presented with this screen, and we will need to first tell Windows to use that external hard drive. So we'll click Add Drive, and we'll select the drive E, so the Toshiba 1 terabyte. Wait a little while, and there we go. It is now backing up my files. However, let's open up more options and let's have a look at what actually is being backed up here. So I've got my music folder, my videos, my documents, my desktop, my downloads. By default, that is everything that by default, that is where everything typically will be stored by myself, unless I go out of my way to store it somewhere, as I described before. So, as we can see, we can choose whether to back up my files every hour, daily, etc. I'm going to move that to daily because I'm not going to have my hard drive plugged in all the time, and I will keep my backups forever on by default. With all of that said, I'll click backup now and go and get a cup of tea until I see some progress on this message backing up your data. Okay, so that backup is now complete. It took about an hour. We can see up here that the window is showing that the last backup was done on today's date and time. One thing I'll show you quickly is that if we look under advanced settings, we'll see that by default file history is turned on. So this means that even if I delete a file or folder off my computer, there will still be a copy retained on the external hard drive. You could turn that off if you needed to, but for obvious reasons I would say keep it on. And that's also the reason why you want to be buying a hard drive that is at least the same size as the hard drive that's in your computer. So one final thing I'll show you is that if we open up File Explorer again and go to this PC and the external hard drive, the files are stored in a folder called File History, and for various technical reasons a couple of folders in, and you're looking for the most recent folder here, number 2 in my case, and in there data, name of my hard drive C, and I find my username, and in there I can see a copy of all my files and folders. So if I wanted to give a friend a copy of a particular file, I could just take this hard drive round if we were going to go down that route. Okay, and so with that you now have a local backup of your files and folders. I'd recommend storing the hard drive in a safe place. Oh, and one final thing is that although I don't keep the hard drive connected constantly to my computer for security reasons, it does flash up this message on screen every now and then to remind me to connect my hard drive and complete that backup. Okay, once again, thanks for watching. Any questions please ask, and thank you.